Usacheme inindiribo ndokutora mumawoko angu chinyarara iwe chinyarara mwana wangu usacheme inindiribo ndokutora mumawoko angu chinyarara iwe chinyarara iwe shu 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 chengeto wangu amai vari pano ndipo paugere chinyarara mwana wangu usacheme iwe shu 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 chiedza wangu uringirozi ekudenga chinyarara mwana wangu usachema iwe usachema iwe. Chazani Hotep Royals, please tap the screen. Let's get many people here. Let's get as many people in here as possible. And let us talk about the powerful energy of Ma'at. We are in the season of Ma'at. We came into the season of Ma'at on the 23rd of July, and this season runs all the way to the 23rd of August. So we're just into that season, and just a brief recap for those who don't know who Ma'at, Umtetogazi, Umlaochadi. If you don't know who Ma'at is, this is your opportunity to learn. Please tap the screen, share our live. Let's get as many people here as possible. We are in that wonderful, wonderful time of Ma'at. I did a brief teaching on Ma'at yesterday before we switched over to contemporary affairs and issues. I'd like to greet everybody who is here properly. Masithokozeni, Chamagwini, Lesedi Khanya, Thobela, Ndaweshewe, Emakosini, Kwaziwai, Nangadef, Habari Gani. Senior moment. I will come back to myself as the jet lag goes, family. But for now, please be happy with those greetings. I think I did better than yesterday. How is everyone doing this evening? How is everyone doing? Thokozeni, Hotep. Please keep tapping that screen. Let's get as many people here as possible. First and foremost, am I clear? Can you hear me? I am not lagging. I am not breaking up. If there's one thing that really gets to me is after doing a live here where I'm totally animated and passionate and in with the flow and the frequency. And then when I download it to put it on the YouTube, everybody on YouTube complains and says, Gogo, you're glitching. Gogo, you're glitching. So please make sure that if I start glitching for any reason, you let me know. If we lose sound, you also let me know very quickly in the comments. when I teach, I try not to read the comments because I just want to just get the lesson done. So yesterday when we were talking about Ma'at, I did say that we were going to be looking at what are called the negative confessions of Ma'at. Some people call them the principles of Ma'at, which is all well and good. But we like to talk, and in the book of Coming Forth by Day, there are negative confessions, meaning there are statements that say, I have not done X. I have not done whatever. Why is that? Because in the book of Coming Forth by Day, these are the things that when you transition and you are before the Royal Council, you are before Ma'at and Anpu has let you through for the weighing of your heart, which has to be light as a feather. These are the negative confessions you will be professing over yourself to say, while I was in the physical realm, I did not do X, I did not do Y. And the more of these that you cannot say, the heavier your heart is. In other words, we need to understand that unlike religion, there is no deity that is waiting to judge you at the end of your life here as a physical being. When your soul transition, you go through several stages in the duat, as it is called, which is the afterlife. And through those several stages, you yourself are the one who determines whether you are worthy of X or Y. So when we talk about there is no judgment, we mean there is no external force or external deity that is there to judge you. When we talk about the Neteru, i.e. these energies or principles or deities or gods and goddesses, we are simply talking about frequencies that are a part of you. I've always said that is why you find that even a little child knows right from wrong before you tell them. Because when they're about to do something wrong and you look at them, not because you've ever told them not to do it, but they will look at you and they will stop doing what they were about to do. That comes from this internal code of ethics, morality, justice, balance, and order that composes these 42 laws. Now, they were then written out because after you transition, there are certain rituals and ceremonies that are done for you. And so these were crystallized, but not because they're not a part of you, but they come from within us. Can we consider the confessions as a form of cleansing? No, you will hear what the confessions are saying. Because this is not the religious way of confessing, where you are confessing and somehow your confession to a priest or a pastor and some kind of absolution that is bestowed upon you by a priest or pastor is sufficient for you to walk away from your sin. This doesn't work that way in the spiritual space. Because in the spiritual space, it is not enough for somebody to say you are forgiven in the name of somebody else. No. In the spiritual space, when you have done wrong, you have to make amends. You have to atone. So making amends also coming from a place of remorse. So we don't pay lip service to this whole process. This is a really deep internal work that comes from the core of your being as an individual or as a person who realizes that you have done something wrong. That is why we have Anpu. Anpu is the principle for discernment. Anpu is the principle that assists you in being able to calculate right from wrong. Now, remember, I said all these are internal processes. These are internal energies that you have. That is why a child knows right from wrong before society tells them that it's okay to do something wrong as long as you can get away with it. Then your conscience is also associated with Anpu, is associated with the conscience. Unembeza, what is the conscience? The conscience is that thing that will eat at you when you do something wrong, knowing full well you've done something wrong. And it is usually your conscience that then propels you to make the right thing, i.e. to make amends and to atone. Now, many of you have often heard me say that atonement and amends in the spiritual space, in African spirituality, doesn't just require what you say with your mouth. You actually have to do something. Because you have a spiritual debt, even though what you did in the physical, but you've created a spiritual debt for yourself, which you have to pay somehow. So this idea that there is some savior who then came and then was sacrificed. Human sacrifice doesn't exist in African spirituality except in that dark space where people are doing rituals for power and for money. But in the purest form, in the spiritual space, human sacrifice is a big taboo. So the idea that there's a religion where a human being was sacrificed and that their blood cleanses you automatically of all your sin just by paying allegiance. Make it make sense. We are adults now. So let's start to think like the firstborn people on this planet rather than to just be followers. Think critically about these things. Activate that prefrontal cortex that they've tried to kill over centuries, where critical thinking becomes very important. So Ma'at is the goddess of justice and order. Ma'at is who organizes the chaos brought on by Set and ensures the timely return whenever disruptions have been created and have altered the natural order. We're talking about natural order and nature here, right? That is the role of Ma'at. So, as above, so below. Yesterday, I talked about how at the very beginning of creation, there was Ra, there was Jehuti, there was Ma'at. Ra gave the order for something to be created. Jehuti communicated it with his mouth, and Ma'at ordered it and arranged it. So the way everything is in the cosmos and why the cosmos doesn't collapse at the 0 point is because Ma'at is who holds order and balance. Without Ma'at, there wouldn't be order and balance in the cosmos. As above, so below. Within you, your very organ systems, the very cycles that take place from the reproductive cycle, from your circulatory system to your pulmonary or lung system, to your nervous system, to your eyes, to your ears, to your mouth, to me speaking. All this is placed and ordered by Ma'at at the time at which my body is being woven in the 9 months, the number of completion 9, in my mother's womb. I'm able to sit here and talk to you and blink and smile and just, gesture with my hands because Ma'at is who has put me together the way I am, the way you are. Without Ma'at, there can be no creation. Ma'at is the scaffolding upon which all creation exists. So your skeletal system, the hair on your head, like I said, everything about you is been ordered by Ma'at. The order in which your organs were created within your body was ordered by Ma'at. So when you understand that from a bigger framework, you then understand how it is that you, as a soul having a human experience, are out of alignment and out of balance when you are not in Ma'at, when you are not listening to the inner Ma'at and listening to Anpu, who is your discernment and your conscience that guides you when you're about to get out of balance. So having said a mouthful like that, how many of us are not in balance? So what we're going to do is we're going to go through the 42 confessions and we're going to take them in sections. So Ma'at on YouTube will be Ma'at part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5 until we finish these. Because it is important for us to really activate. The reason I do these teachings is not because I'm teaching you anything that you don't already have within you. That's the beauty of my job. The beauty of my job is I get to see when the DNA starts sparking and the remembering starts to happen. It's all in you. I really am not teaching you anything that isn't in you. I'm simply here to facilitate that activation, to facilitate that awakening to self, right? That awakening to your divinity. Because in essence, when you are aligned with Ma'at, you are within your divinity. You are the goddess. You are the god that you're supposed to be, right? And as I share these, I will also draw from ancient kingdoms to share with you how the laws of Ma'at, for example, were applied at a community level. For now, let's just look at the first of these confessions. The first one says, I have done no wrong. I have done no wrong. Can any of you say, I have done no wrong? I can't. I'll teach you how you can apply these on a daily basis, right? Because the one thing about the confessions of Ma'at is you're not really lying to anyone. You're lying to yourself, to your divine self, if you do these confessions when you know perfectly well that you are not adhering to any of them. But they are also useful as a guideline to show you which ones can you definitively 100% with the DNA in your being say, I have not done X. And then it shows you the ones that your tongue gets a bit heavy to articulate. It shows you where you are out of balance and where you need to get in line with the cosmic order. It's not just about getting things, I'm doing right or I'm doing wrong. In spirituality, we really don't like using that language, but it's about getting in alignment with the cosmic order, because when you're in alignment with the cosmic order, that is when everything in your life starts to harmonize. And that is when you understand better the purpose of your existence. Right? Otherwise, this whole existence on this planet with everything else that's going on, you could literally say to yourself, why are we even here? Like, what is the meaning of all this? But when you're in alignment with the cosmos, those are not questions some of us ask because we already know why we're here. Right? So I have not done wrong. Some people will say, I have not committed sin. I don't like that word sin because for many of us, it's very triggering. It's very triggering if you're coming from a religious background and you were shamed for sinning, because the Bible is very good at shaming for sinning. If it's not that book itself, it's the people who purport to teach from that book. So I have done no wrong. The next one is, I have not committed robbery with violence. Right? I think many of us can say, definitively, I have not committed robbery with violence. Right? The next one is, I have not stolen. Now you need to think about that one a little bit. You have not stolen. This could be the stealing of, hi Steve, we're dealing with the 42 Confessions of MAAT. There are no 42 laws, because really they're not laws. They are confessions, especially when we're dealing with it on an individual level. Later on, I will talk about how they became law in the civic space, in the political and societal space of the kingdoms of the day. But for now, let's talk about these confessions. I have not stolen. What does that mean to you? I've not stolen. Have you stolen somebody's ideas, intellectual property? Have you surreptitiously taken something that doesn't belong to you? Even if the intention was to put it back, you still took it. So you are the one who has to sit and allow and ask honestly these questions, because the only being that you're going to be lying to is yourself if you're not honest. So you're either going to do it properly or you're not going to bother, because there's nobody watching and nobody really cares. We're all out here minding our own business, except of course when we get to the community aspect and the civic aspect, which I will talk about, in subsequent teachings, right? I have not unalived men or women. It depends how you look at that. How many of us have unalived somebody with the very words that come out of our mouths? Because when you hurt someone deeply, you kill a part of them. It's as good as killing. When you wish someone ill, when you have no goodwill towards others, it's a form of killing. So that's another one that we can all sit with. It's very easy to look at it and say, no, me, I've never killed anybody. We're not talking physicality here, friends and family. We're also talking spiritually. So you can sit with these and you can deepen your own meditation on them vis-a-vis your own life and how you be and how you show up in the world, in the community at large, and for the collective, right? I have not stolen food. I've not stolen food. That's another one you need to think about. Have you ever done anything that has denied someone else an opportunity to feed their family? Did you lie or connive in order to get a job in an illegitimate manner where somebody else could have gotten that job? Because if that's the case, you've stolen food out of somebody's mouth. See what I mean? This is going to be up to you to deepen the meditation within yourself. You can keep it as superficial as you want, but what benefit is that for you? Because at the end of your life, you're going to have to deal with the heaviness of your heart, which must be as light as a feather against these, right? I have not swindled offerings. So, what does that look like? Let me paint a picture. Like I said, I will give a historical context so that it makes sense. What does it mean I have not swindled offerings? In ancient Kemet, as well as in all the other kingdoms that were there, the Neteru were offered offerings at the temples, right? So in offering these offerings at the temple, mind you, I'll tell you that the Neteru don't actually need your offerings. I think I've talked about this. Your ancestors who were once in human form require offerings every now and then to energize them and to keep them connected to you. But the Neteru themselves don't really. But these offerings, remember that in African spirituality, we're people of rituals. So the Neteru, depending on what season it was, and remember there were many temples to all these energies and principles, and there were certain priests and priestesses that were attached to each of these temples. So for example, I'm a devotee of our set, right? That means I would have served as a priestess at the temple of our set. So my responsibility at that temple would have been to make sure that her incense is there. The things that create cosmic resonance with this energy, right? Like the color of the robes, I probably would have dressed in those colors. The temple would have been decorated with her metal, with her crystals, with her stones, the incense that appealed to her. Do you get what I'm saying? And so there were also offerings that were often put at these altars within these temples. And I'm sure there were people who would go in and, help themselves. So it was just considered a great transgression. It's like if you go and you do an offering to your ancestors or a river offering, and then I pass by and I see that you have some good drink over there, and I decide that I'm going to steal that drink. That is a major transgression, because that was part of somebody's offering to their ancestors or to whatever. And I went and I took that thing and I ate it and I ran off with it. So again, I'm giving historical context because you may look at some of these and say, but where do they apply? They still apply, right? Have I swindled offerings? How many of you have not done an offering to your ancestors? Because remember, your ancestors are part of the Neteru. They are nature. Neteru comes from nature. So if you are not once in a while or once every 3 months just saying thank you for the fact that they birthed you, you are swindling offerings. And if you don't know how to do that, go and watch the Ancestor series on YouTube. I have Ancestors Part 1 to 11. So you can go and watch and find out in there, how do you do an ancestral offering to your people? The thing that people must understand is you cannot separate, because you get a lot of people who believe that there's a spiritual bypass where they say, you know what, let me just deal with the Neteru and let me just forget about this whole ancestral thing. Well, you're wrong. It doesn't work like that. It's all part and parcel of the same. The only difference is that with the Neteru as a collective, we can all partake in whatever it is we do, even individually, or as with the great empire of Kemet, we do it together as a group. With your ancestors, that's a bloodline thing. That's an individual thing. That's a family thing. But you're not excused from it in favor of the Neteru. You're not. You're not excused from it. I just wanted to put that out there in case somebody's like, nah, I'm not doing an ancestral offering. I just deal with the Neteru. Wrong. Not gonna work. There's no, you can't bypass that one. And I don't know why you would even want to bypass that, right? Because indeed you are here. You're here able to watch and listen to me because your ancestors are. I won't say were, because they are, right? They live in you. They birthed you. So all this you do is ultimately because we're a community of the living, and the living dead, meaning ancestors. You can't separate yourself from that, right? I have not stolen from the gods or the goddesses. I think this is in the same vein as not swindled offerings. As we go on, I will be teaching you, this is why the calendar is so important, because the calendar also offers certain invocations that you can do to the different Neteru within their season. And like I said, you align yourself with their colors, their metals, and so on and so forth to create that cosmic resonance and that harmony and that balance. I have not been unduly angry. Now, that's one we can all deal with, right? I hope that's one we can all deal with. Somebody's like, I hope she answers the question. I didn't see any question. And the thing about it is, it's very hard. Maybe you can go on YouTube and write your questions, because then I can use your questions as teaching points as well. It's very hard for me to stay focused on what I'm doing if I'm going to be trying to read questions. It's very easy to sidetrack, right? So I have not been unduly angry. Now, this is not talking about righteous anger, family. Because righteous anger is when you're angry because you have a reason to be angry. And there's nothing wrong with anger because it's a very natural emotion, otherwise you wouldn't have it. However, unduly angry means what? Have I been angry because somebody confronted me on my BS? Have I lashed out because I didn't get my way? Did I become angry in order to try to manipulate somebody into doing things the way I want them to do things? So that's a good one for meditation, right? I have not been unduly angry. It requires a lot of honesty within yourself about the source of your anger and the object or subject of your anger. Do we have a right to be angry over our oppression or continued oppression and the systematic and consistent and continuous quest to do away with us as the Black nation? Hell yeah. We have a right to be very angry. I'm very angry. And I like that anger because it lights a fire in my belly to get into action. So I'm talking about anger, but also, is it righteous anger? Right? So that's a meditation point for you in your own personal life. Again, taking a good look at self. If you do get angry, the question to ask yourself is, what's triggering my anger? If what's triggering your anger has to do with you not liking what you're hearing because it doesn't suit your purposes or intentions, which may or may not be beneficial to yourself or to others, that is a point for meditation for you. That is how we grow spiritually. And it's an individual journey. That's why I keep throwing it back to you that, hey, you can do this as superficially as you want, or you can take it to the depths that you feel you're ready for. It's entirely your choice. I have not behaved with violence. Now, let's be clear too with that one. If you come towards me and you are violent towards me, whether it be with your words or with your actions, best believe I'm coming at you with that same energy. Why? Because Ma'at is about balance. So this is not talking about you being slapped on one cheek and then you turn the other cheek. This is not about you forgiving your enemy 70 times, 70 times, because only your enemy can ask you or command you to forgive them 70 times, 70 times. These laws are there to guide, not to turn you into some kind of sheep. Right? So I have not behaved with violence unprovoked. Right? If you provoke the violence by slapping me, I'm slapping you right back and it's going to hurt more than you slapped me for sure. Right? Balance. Someone keeps hitting you and hitting you and hitting you, and all you do is go, and you act like a pacifist. We're not pacifists here. We are gods and goddesses with discernment, with wisdom, with a conscience. And if you look at the Black nation all around and in general, we haven't done half the crap that has been done to us, to so-called enemies. What does that tell you about our divine innate nature? Imhotep says, won't start it, but definitely end it. Yeah, that's right. But our nature speaks for itself. This is why if we had or were to do to our enemies what they have done to us, we'd have been done with them. What does that tell us about our divine nature? That we're not inherently violent. That inherently we are a people of balance. We are Ma'at incarnate. That inherently we are a people who share, who seek to harmonize. I'm not talking about the side shows that you see where we have pockets of this violence and this internalized anger turned in on ourselves. That is an aberration of who we are. That is a distortion of our divine selves. And we know what has caused that distortion. Right? I have not caused disruption of peace. That is a good one for meditation. Are you the one person who, when you go somewhere, everybody goes, oh gosh, here comes drama? Are you the one person who's so addicted to drama and chaos that when you go to a place where there's peace, it's almost like something is itching you, that you need to do something to create chaos? Set the destroyer. You need to guard Set within yourself if you are that kind of person. And you need to go to the source. If you are always disrupting peace, it means internally you are not peaceful. What is going on with you? That is the question you need to be asking yourself. I have not caused disruption of peace. Some of you are so addicted to drama and chaos, you sabotage all your relationships. And then you sit back and you cry, why am I alone? Why am I lonely? If you are disruptive and not peaceful, go within. Something in you is not okay. And so peace feels alien to you. When you are around peace, it's like, oh no. The same way that some of us around chaos are like, oh hell no. So you need to switch that somehow and find out what is it that's going on with you that makes you allergic to peace. Peace, shame. Oh, some of you have no peace. Sure. What is it? Right? That is the purpose of these Confessions of MAAT. So I'm going to stop here for today. I think I've given you food for thought. Guys, you can find different versions of these online and you can print it out for yourself if you want to. I would suggest that you do. Actually, one of the things I suggest to my mentees is that somewhere in your office or wherever, have these. And at the beginning of your day, just go over them. And then as you finish your day, see how many of these you can actually articulate. Like I said, don't lie to yourself, because it's only you and you. Ain't nobody listening in. Ain't no God out there waiting to judge you. There's nothing like that. It's you and you. You are the one who gets to direct yourself. Where you see you're getting out of balance, you self-correct. That's why we didn't have prison in the ancient kingdoms, because of this model of being. Right? So we'll carry on with our lesson tomorrow, where we'll go on with the rest of these. I don't know how many of these I've done tonight. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I've done 11 tonight, right? So we'll carry on from 12 on tomorrow. I hope this is useful. If you have questions for me, just go on YouTube. It's African Spirituality, African with a K, Spirituality, then dash Gogo Nkanyezi Speaks. If you go on my TikTok when the live goes, if you go to my bio, you will see the YouTube link. It's easier, just click, it'll take you directly there. Then you can put your questions underneath the video. This is going to be posted up there. That way, most times I actually don't, if it's a good question, I love good questions, I'll do an entire teaching around that question so that everybody gets the benefit of your good question with an answer, right? So on that note, family, Black Nation, Sisonke, we are together in this. Love you to infinity, to infinity, to infinity, Black Nation. Masithokozeni.